This tutorial is simply concerned with ladders and anything that actually could become a ladder. So for this tutorial, I've included a ladder object, which is a box with a ladder texture on it. These objects and textures are irrelevant. You could actually do this tutorial with a template box, just scaled up a bit to give it some height to walk up. Start by adding your ladder to our blank tutorial world. We'll be going into the actual game for this, so if you have a lot of world files in your project, remember what the name of the world is. Mine is blank.wld. The ladder object I've included is named ladder.fbx. It is important to know that the ladder properties work along the z-axis. Rotate your object accordingly before exporting it for GameCore. It is very important to know you must keep your pivot point at the exact object's center. If you notice in the video, I've named my ladder object my tutorial object that is ladder-like. This is just so I can show the magical process of renaming an object to turn it into a ladder. I've added the template basic character, Lego Man, and under his object properties I've checked the make player box. In order to run a game in the editor, you must have a player, something with the make player box checked. So I select my tutorial object that is ladder-like and go to its physics properties. Add a simple bounding box collision to the ladder object. And if you don't know how to do that, just revert back to the collision tutorial. Under the General tab is the name slot for the object. Go ahead and change the name of the object to ladder and make sure it's case sensitive. That is the magic. Anything you name ladder will behave as such. And that's pretty much it. So if you have a working ladder, let's go ahead and test it. To test your world, go to Game and then choose Run Game. I left my startup script slot blank, so I must go through the default menu system to get in-game. Once you have a profile set up, just make sure when it asks which level to load, you are loading the world file we have been doing this tutorial in. Now you should be able to run around and up and down your ladder. You will notice you fall off before the top. That's for two reasons. The mesh is obviously horrible, and because we need to add a bit of script to our ladder as well. Now, every other time we have added script to an object, we've had to go outside GameCore to a text editor. This time we'll be adding a predefined and open controller variable. So controller variables are like script shortcuts. They are a way to augment certain variable states to change an object's behavior without having to wade through all of the script. For example, a run speed state could be changed from 1 to 10, making a character much faster without actually having to open the .opr. The ladder is working, but let's make some adjustments to it. Escape, which is Alt F4, and go back into the game editor. Select the ladder object and edit its object properties. If you notice, next to the General tab is a tab called Controller. This is where we can change controller variables. So click the tab. Unfortunately, there are no controller variables to change. So let's add one. Click the Add button. In the slot provided, type top buffer. This will add a top buffer variable to the list. Once top buffer is in the list, go ahead and click it. You will now get a new slot to type in the variable amount. I went ahead and chose 5. This will help get us higher up the ladder before we fall off. And we will always fall off because of the mesh, but with a real ladder object, this will not be the case. So I go back and tweak the object and go back into the game a few times more just to test. I would suggest you do the same. That's how simple it is to get a ladder working in the game. Next, we'll move on to some of the more complicated things you'll need for your game.